love paid family leave. That's why it polls so high. So why isn't she proposing it? It's not in our economic plan. Tim Walz already passed it in Minnesota. He showed how easy it was. If you want votes, and then you know what's going to happen if you propose paid family leave. The Republicans are going to go, no, our beloved corporations don't want to spend another dollar on moms, right?
In this video, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks joins Lex Fridman on the Lex Fridman podcast. Cenk Uygur and Lex Fridman discuss some right-wing supporters' claims that Kamala Harris is a communist. With that, let's watch Cenk Uygur go on a couple of his famous rants that are so stupid, the normally stoic Lex Fridman can't help but to laugh out loud.
So here's another example of definitional communism. Like they say, oh my God, Kamala Harris is a communist. Well, when you're telling on yourself, brothers and sisters, when you say that, that means A, I don't know what communism means, and B, I don't have any idea what's going on in American politics. Kamala Harris is a corporatist. That's her problem. Not that she's a communist. She's on the other end of the spectrum, right? The idea that Kamala Harris would come into office and say, that's it, there's no more private property. We're going to take all of your homes and it's now government property, all your cars, etc. She was not going to get within 1 billion miles of that. Her donors would never allow her to get within 1 billion miles of that. That is so preposterous that when you say something like that, it's disqualifying. Like, I can't debate someone who thinks that Democrats are communists when they're actually largely corporatists. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so let's go there. So when people call her a communist, they're usually referring to certain kinds of policies. So do you think, I mean, I think it's a ridiculous label to assign to Kamala Harris, especially given the history of communism in the 20th century and what those economic and political policies have led to, the scale of suffering that led to. And it just degrades the meaning of the word, right? But to take that seriously, why is she not a communist? So you said she's not a communist because she's a corporatist. Okay, but that that can't be. Okay, everybody in politics is a corporate. Just almost everybody in politics is a corporate. But that doesn't mean the corporations have completely bought their mind. They have an influence on their mind on issues that matter to those corporations.
Yep.
Right? Like, outside of that, they're still thinking for the voters because they still have to win the votes.
Barely.
Okay.
So here, let me give you examples so you see what I'm saying. So if you just wanted votes, you would do a lot of what Tim Walz did, okay? And by the way, a lot of what Bernie did, that's why Bernie, who had no media coverage, went from like 2% in 2015 to by the end about 48%, because he was just doing things that were popular, right? And that American people wanted, et cetera, right? Because he's not controlled by corporations. By the way, neither is Tom Massey on the right-wing side, on the Republican side, right? So it's not all, that's why I always say almost all, right? So if you're doing things that are popular, people love it. So today, what would Kamala Harris do if she actually just wanted to win, right? So number one, she was trying to pass paid family leave.
Yeah, I mean, calling Kamala Harris is a misnomer. But I think when most people are saying that, they're confusing communism and socialism. And I think if the Democratic Party had their druthers, this country would look much more like a socialist country. That's why even though the right appears to be winning on most fronts right now, and the Democrat Party is a clown show, it's cool to feel good and celebrate for a little bit, briefly. But we can't let our guard down. If we do, the results could be disastrous. We have to stay vigilant because they're not going anywhere. And throughout the history of our country, the pendulum has always swung back and forth. So personally, I do my best never to get complacent. We are still and always will be in the midst of a battle. As far as family leave, as a concept, I think it's well-meaning. I can't believe that many people support it. I simply don't want the government mandating that private companies have to do anything. You know, this is another benefit that the market can decide. If you're in an industry, let's say, where everyone's fighting over top talent, paid maternity leave is a great way to differentiate yourself from similar companies to attract top talent. And just to be clear, I'm way more sympathetic to maternity leave than family leave. It's certainly important for a mother to have time with her child in those critical first months of a baby's life. But I don't see why companies should take a double hit on that cost of paid leave for the father and mother. And also, based on nothing but my own inclinations, I just think a man should be working. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Leave right now. Why? It polls at 84%, and even 74% of Republicans want it. Why? Because it says, hey, when you have a baby, you should get 12 weeks off. Bond with your baby. Right now, in a lot of states that don't have paid family leave, you have to go back to work the very next day, or you have to use all of your sick days, all your vacation days, just to have 1 or 2 weeks with your baby, right? So conservatives love paid family leave. Liberals love paid family leave. That's why it polls so high. So why isn't she proposing it? It's not in our economic plan. Tim Walz already passed it in Minnesota. He showed how easy it was. If you want votes, and then you know what's going to happen if you propose paid family leave. The Republicans are going to go, no, our beloved corporations don't want to spend another dollar on moms, right? And they fall for that trap. And then you're in infinitely better shape. So why doesn't she do it? She doesn't do it because her corporate donors don't want her to do it. $15 minimum wage, layup. Over 2/3 of the country wants it because it not only gives you higher wages for minimum wage folks, but it pushes wages up for others. And what do the elites say? Oh, that's going to drive up inflation. Oh, you shouldn't get paid anymore. Wait, hold on. So you're saying all other prices should go up, but the only thing that shouldn't go up is our wages? No, our wages should go up, okay? So these are all easy ones. Here's another one, anti-corruption. Why isn't she running on getting money out of politics? It polls at over 90%. Why isn't Trump running on it anymore? He won when he ran on it in 2016. He didn't mean a word of it, but he ran on it. It was smart. They don't do it because their corporate donors take their heads off if they do.
So in contradiction to that, why did she propose to raise the corporate tax rate from whatever 21% to 28%?
Because that's easy, because that is something that's super popular, and she's not going to do it. That's why. So guys, this is where I break the hearts of Blue MAGA. Blue MAGA thinks, oh my God, these Democrats, they're angels, and the right wingers and the Republicans are evil, and they work for big business, but not Kamala Harris, not Joe Biden, right? Okay, well, Donald Trump took the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. So that's trillions of dollars that got transferred. Because guys, you got to understand, if the corporations don't pay it, we have to pay it, because we're running up these giant deficits, and eventually either they're going to, not eventually, they keep raising our taxes in different ways that you're not noticing. They keep increasing fees and fines and different ways for the government to collect money. So we're paying for it. And on top of that, eventually,
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
cut your Social Security and Medicare, because they're going to say, oh, we don't have any options left anymore. Yeah, you don't have any options left anymore because you kept giving trillions of dollars in tax cuts to corporations. So we're going to have to pay for that. So then Biden says, oh my God, I'm going to bring corporate taxes back up to 28%. I'm like, wait, hold on. They were at 35. You already did a sleight of hand and said 28. Okay, then he gets into office, and Manchin says, no, 25. That's the highest I'll go. And he goes, okay, fine, 25. And then while you're not looking, they just dump it. They don't even do 25. It's still at 21. So hear me now, quote me later. I do predictions on the show all the time, because you should hold me accountable. You should hold all your pundits accountable. Yeah. If you held all your pundits accountable, we'd be the last man standing, and that's kind of what happened. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guarantee you she will not increase corporate taxes.
So would the same be the case for price controls or the anti-price gouging that she's proposing?
So it's not price controls, it's price anti-price gouging.
It is price controls, but I mean, minimum wage is price controls also.
Now we're going to get into a lot of minutia, but I'll try to keep it broad. So price controls are a disaster. They never work. If you say, oh, here's a banana, it has to stay at $1 a pound, make up a number, right? Well, supply and demand is going to move. And then that's going to, and so the minute it moves to $2 where the price should be, then you're going to run into shortages. So we all know this, it's a bad idea, right? But are there laws against price gouging? There already are, and they're a good idea. So why? Like, you have a natural disaster, all of a sudden the water that was $1, now they're charging $100. The government has to come in, democratic capitalism, they come in and go, no, I'm going to protect the people. So you're not allowed to price gouge. You know, maybe charge $2, etc., but you're not going to charge $100. But it is temporary. We get that done. We end the problem there, and then we bring it back to a normal supply and demand. Okay.
So basically, what Cenk's saying is promise free shit to people, and you can be a loser and get elected like Tim Walz and put tampons in men's restrooms. How the hell did that guy get elected to anything? Such an unimpressive VP pick for Kamala, but I guess unimpressive was on brand for that campaign. So what do I know? Yeah, and when Cenk says these policies are popular with the American people, popular seems with him to always mean free stuff. I can't believe we're still having the conversation about raising minimum wage to $15. We all know minimum wage is meant for brand new entry-level positions / employees. I mean, if you're in your mid-20s and you're working, or rather you've worked at all in your life, there's not a chance on earth that you're making minimum wage. In my opinion, I'm not looking at the statistics, but the vast majority of people that are making minimum wage are high school or college kids just trying to make some extra money. And since the left never has any really good arguments, what they'll do is they'll find the one very small exception, like a mother of 4 working 2 minimum wage jobs, and be like, this happens all the time, and tug on Americans' heartstrings. And for people like that, there are social safety nets, and I have empathy for that person, and, you know, I have no problem with them getting some help. But just giving everyone more money is a terrible idea. I mean, there's only 2 levers an employer can pull when they're forced to pay everyone a higher amount than they're currently making to make up for the additional money they're losing. Either fire people or raise prices. So people either lose their jobs and things are more expensive, or both. So now that $15 doesn't have as much buying power, and it's worth about as much as whatever else you were making prior, because the prices for everything are higher now. So dumb. Anyway, let's wrap up the video.
Okay, so that's what she's proposing. That's all political because the price gouging has already passed. They did it in 21 and 22, and so now the grocery stores are actually a low margin business. She says grocery stores. That's how I know she doesn't mean it, because the grocery stores weren't the problem. Consumer goods were the problem.
Yeah.
Those companies.
She's following the polls where most people will say that the groceries are too expensive. So
Yeah.
she's just basically
But
saying the most popular thing. Yeah.
100%. And you could tell in which proposals she means it and which proposals she doesn't, because of the framing, right? So this is a mediocre example, but in housing, she said we have to stop private equity from buying houses in bulk. I'm like, curious that they put the word in bulk there. Why does it have to be in bulk? Why don't we just stop them from buying any residential home? Like, you could set up normal boundaries, right? For example, Charlie Kirk was on the Young Turks this week.
By the way, sorry to take that tangent. I really enjoyed that conversation. I really enjoyed that you talked to. That was like civil. You guys disagreed pretty intensely, but like there was a lot of respect. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you, brother.
That was like
People like Cenk and disingenuous douchebags on the left always use Trump's going to cut your Social Security and Medicare, so we have to tax people more. First of all, Donald Trump specifically said he's not touching either of them. So this is just a boogeyman. And it's really sad because it does scare people. Understandable. Hey, and guess what? Instead of just taxing the shit out of everyone, you know what else would decrease the risk that Social Security and Medicare are going anywhere? Rooting out all the waste, fraud, and abuse of our tax dollars. Hey, look, there's money just sitting out there being wasted that the government could be using instead of just taxing people more and more in perpetuity. But we want to hear from you. What did you all think about this conversation between Lex Fridman and Cenk Uygur? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.